Hello and welcome. It is early afternoon on a Thursday, and I'm just about to start packing the car up because as soon as my daughter gets home from school and my wife gets off of work, we're hopping in the car and heading to Custer, South Dakota for the Tesla Sound of Silence rally that they host there. This is the 7th annual rally. They skipped it last year because of COVID restrictions, but it's back on. There's going to be a ton of people there. Hopefully the weather will hold out and we'll have a great time. Now, because this is a trip with the family, we aren't going to push straight through and drive overnight to get there. We are going to stop about halfway, just past the Missouri River at SOCAN, and they have a supercharger there, so we'll be able to start tomorrow morning with a fresh charge. And then Friday, drive through the Badlands and take a leisurely route to get to Custer, which is almost on the western border of South Dakota, and get there with enough time to find our hotel and get our registration information before the events of the weekend kick off. So it should be a really exciting weekend. I think there's at least 90 cars registered and I think over 120 people. So tons of Teslas, probably some other EVs will be there as well. And that'll be really exciting to see. We'll see how the charging situation is with that many people converging on a small town. But I hope everyone is courteous and ready to have fun. Hello. We are about to take off and set a world record of a family who actually left before they planned on it. It is 4:56 p.m. and we are charged up to 100% and ready to hit the road to South Dakota and see some amazing things. You ready? All right, let's go. We're about 80 miles in and stopping for a restroom break in Medina, Minnesota. All right, we just got to Worthington, 166.2 miles, still have 26% left. Yeah, we were just sipping electrons compared to the Model S. So we are supercharging here. I've got the limit set to 100 still, so it's giving us that 55 minutes. Navigate to Mitchell, South Dakota supercharger. All right, so now it's saying we'll get there with minus 24%. So that's what we're gonna wanna keep an eye on. Roughly 20 minutes is what we need, so which will be just about perfect to hit Hy-Vee, use the restrooms, change a diaper, and maybe get some grapes or something for the next leg of the trip. Looks like the girls are about ready to go. So I'll catch you later. On our way to Mitchell, South Dakota. We are still in Minnesota, but I wanted to check in before we lost the light. We had a good stop in Worthington, stayed there a little bit too long. The car was easily done long before we were. Just had a little longer time getting out of Hy-Vee. And then before we left town, we had a soda pop explode in the car, so had to stop and wipe that down. But all in all, we can see through the windshield again, and it's all going to be good. We just passed a sign that said 24 miles to Sioux Falls. That's pretty much the border, so we're close to South Dakota now. And you can see Jones playing with a flashlight in the back seat. It looks like a haunted mansion back there, but pretty soon we're going to see if we can get her to get a little sleep and hopefully have a quiet, pleasant drive into the evening. We pulled into Mitchell about 10:20 at night. Joan still hadn't slept, but she was doing okay. We arrived around 30%, just needed a few minutes of charge before our last leg for the night. Ellie walked over to the county fair food store, which used to be 24 hours but was closed overnight since COVID. Did you find a little car? That's pretty cool, isn't it? Joan found a Tesla Cash car on the supercharger, so we took that with us to leave at another stop. But after 13 minutes, we were almost on our way with a quick stop for restrooms at a nearby gas station. Got the gals settled in the hotel room here in Okama. We got here about 11:40, 11:45. Just took a while to get everything in and get them situated. But I wanted to charge tonight while the battery's still warm. There are a few Teslas at the hotel, and I imagine more people will be driving through tomorrow. So getting a charge tonight will save us some time in the morning. So far on the trip, we've gone 365.7 miles, used 124 kilowatts, and getting 340 watt hours per mile. It does save 50 minutes to charge. We got here with about 18%, so just in the couple minutes I've been plugged in, we're up over 10%. I won't go all the way to 100 because this will sit overnight. Welcome to Murdow, South Dakota. 3 years ago, I did a supercharger review here, and I remember thinking, boy, this little play area would be great for kids, and turns out I was right. Perfect little getaway after being in the car for a long time. We had a pretty crazy night last night, put Joan to bed, and she would not go down. After we thought we had her down, I went and plugged the car in. That was probably about 12:20, and then got a text saying things were unraveling quickly in the hotel room, and so left the car to charge. But by 1:20 in the morning, the car was at 99% and Joan was still wide awake, so had to leave, go get the car. And it's the first time I can remember ever wanting to have phantom drain overnight, so it didn't sit at that high state of charge. We got moving probably around 9:20 this morning. The car did lose a little bit. It was down to 96% in the morning. The original plan, according to a better route planner and the Tesla navigation, to get to Custer would be to skip this charger and go right to Wall, and then on to either Rapid City or Custer. But we want to spend some time at the Badlands National Park on our way, and that's a pretty long detour, and so just to be sure, I figured let's stop here, and then the turnoff to Badlands is between here and Wall, but I think within the park there's another exit to get up to Wall. So we're going to leave Murdow in a couple minutes and then go to Badlands and then probably back up to Wall unless we can make it all the way to Custer. But I've heard the superchargers in Custer are already pretty full, so it'll probably be good to get there with quite a bit of charge. We did get to Murdow with 56%, which was plenty. The battery did some preconditioning warming up, so that ate up a little bit, but like I said, we've got plenty of range. We're just kind of topping off so we can do the Badlands at our leisure and not worry about it. Plus my wife needs a little more sleep, so she's in the car with climate on while we're out here playing. Alright, we are in Wall, South Dakota. I have actually never been to Wall or Wall Drug, even though I've been across the state several times. It looks like it's quite a big to-do. We're not going to be here too long. We actually could have made it from Murdo all the way to Custer. But seeing as how there's going to be about 90 Teslas there, we decided we would stop here, just left Badlands National Park, and fill up while we use the restroom and get a little snack, and then have plenty by the time we get to Custer, so we're not clogging up the superchargers there. We're at 45% or 49% and still getting 115 kilowatts. We were preconditioning on our way out of the Badlands, so we're doing all right for this state of charge. Looking forward to getting to Custer and seeing everyone and getting registered. Just leaving Wall, we got up to 93% when we checked out Wall Drug. Cool roadside ridiculousness like I expected. And next stop is Custer. Cool and wet as we got into Custer around 4:30 in the afternoon, but lots of Teslas and drivers were hanging out in the visitor center parking lot despite the mist. Check-in was a breeze with lots of local swag in a gift bag and a very welcoming experience. Joan spied a nearby playground, so we had to stop there and get dirty and wet before dinner. After checking into the hotel and a change of clothes, we met the group for dinner at the Mount Rushmore Brewing Company. We arrived in Custer with about 35%, so in no rush to charge, but knowing how busy the superchargers would be, the city added a bunch of level 2 plugs around town to supplement the superchargers and hotel destination chargers. While looking for parking, we happened upon one and helped ourselves. This was a perfect example of what I was talking about in last week's video, convenient, slow charging while hanging out within walking distance all evening. We arrived a little late, so some friends from the Minnesota Tesla Owners Club found extra chairs and invited us to sit with them. It was a nice buffet dinner and good conversation. But by the time dinner was over, Joan's antics from the night before were catching up with her, and I had to drop her off at the hotel for an early bedtime. I missed some of the introduction speeches, but caught back up with the group at the Custer Beacon. Fully vaccinated, but still weird to be back in my first in-person music venue and crowded bar in over a year. The music was good, and talking about past and future road trips with other drivers was great. Then back to the hotel around 11. The Model Y had been plugged in that whole time and was now sitting at a respectable 85%. Saturday was a mostly free day of drives around the many parks and attractions. There's Custer State Park, Wind Cave National Park, Crazy Horse Monument, and Mount Rushmore nearby. We started the day with breakfast at our place. Nothing fancy, but good roadside diner food and coffee for a tired dad. Then we hit the road with a drive to Sylvan Lake in Custer State Park. An eerie, foggy hike, but some fun climbing. Then Ellie drove the Needles Highway and through the switchbacks and tight one-way tunnels. The Needles Highway was lots of fun, and then the stop at Center Lake and the wildlife loop were great opportunities to see deer, elk, prairie dogs, and buffalo. We spotted a few more in Wind Cave National Park before heading back to Custer for a group photo with the rest of the attendees. It was a little like herding cats, but they got us all into position for the photos for the 4 or 5 drones that were in the air. I took the opportunity to talk to some of the Tesla owners in the parking lot, and then some more at dinner. I'll have more on those next week. Dinner again was at Mount Rushmore Brewing Company, with speeches and recognitions afterward. The Custer team did a great job and were terrific hosts. Once again, the Level 2 plug was open, so I took advantage through dinner and through socializing time at the Golden Pan, where I caught up with friends. Can I get a wave from the EV Nomads? Where are you guys going next?
West.
We don't really know.
Just west. Somewhere.
West is good. And there were giant dogs. Well, I'm back at the school where we did the photo op earlier today. And the one thing that's really good about school not being in session and Custer not being too busy right now is that when you leave your GoPro out in the rain all afternoon, it'll still be here for you after you're done. So, glad I remembered this. Sunday morning, a lot of owners hit the road really early, but we slept in a little bit, checked out of our lodge, and then hit the Feel Good Cafe for a hosted breakfast for the Tesla owners leaving. Another good opportunity to catch up with folks before we hit the road. It is Sunday morning. We are getting a very late start. It is 10:39. We had a great breakfast, saying goodbye to a bunch of people from the Tesla clubs and people who came here for the rally. Really great event, lots of friendly people, had some really good conversations, and just fun to be driving down the road and see lots of Teslas, everyone in a good mood, everybody waving, and through the parks yesterday too. So really great time, and we are charged up to 81%. We're going to be taking off here in just a couple minutes. We made pretty good use of the level 2 chargers they added for us. We ended last night with a charge in the mid-70s, but with going up to breakfast this morning and starting out with a cold pack, I thought since the superchargers have cleared out because we're behind everyone leaving, we figured we'd swing down here for a few minutes, pick up something at the Dakota Mart with a warmer pack and a little higher state of charge. So just hit 82%. I think that'll be enough to get us on our way. We're going to try to minimize stops as we go. I almost forgot about the Tesla caching car that we picked up in Murdo, and so I'm going to leave that here after I get it scanned in. Our plan going home was to drive through Custer State Park and then straight over to the Badlands, but the reservation wasn't allowing through traffic to Badlands, so we had to go up to Rapid City, across the freeway, and then down from Wall to get back to the Badlands. But it was worth it. The weather was beautiful, and worth the stop for more wildlife and some hiking. Well, that was a bit of an adventure. We made it to Murdo with 0% and 0 miles left on the energy graph and cutting it very close. The wind is coming out of the southeast toward the northwest, and it is just cruising. So we were fighting that and leaving Custer at about 86% and getting here under 0. Between stopping a few times and having that car heat up and then having to climb back out and then fight the wind really was the tough part coming on the interstate. but we got here. We could have drafted behind a semi a little bit if we would have been in real trouble, but we were able to just slow it down a little bit and be fine. It is now, we went through the time change, so it's now 4:45 in the afternoon. It's going to be a long night driving back. So it's estimating 30 minutes charge time here to get us to Mitchell, but because of the wind, we're going to definitely stick around for a little longer. I don't think my wife enjoyed going under zero, and so we'll try to avoid that going forward. I'll figure that plan out, and then we'll get some dinner and hit the road. We got to Mitchell about 7:45 in the evening. Still windy, but the temp was a big swing from Custer, from 48 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That kept the Dairy Queen hopping next door, so we stopped by the county fair food store for restrooms and ice cream we could eat in the trunk. About a half hour later, we were headed to Worthington. Back in Worthington, Minnesota, a little after 10 p.m., we used the restrooms at the Holiday Inn Express, and were ready for the last quiet leg of the trip back home. At least the wind would mostly be at our back. All right, last plug. On our way home. We had 31 minutes of charge time and then hit the road. While trying to get Joan to sleep, I made it all the way through 99 bottles of beer on the wall for, I think, the first time in my life. Pretty sure I get some sort of dad prize for that. Alright, it is 1:30 in the morning. We got home about 10 after 1. Got Joan up into bed relatively quickly. And then I cleaned out the essentials from the car, but the back seat is still not fit for humans. I'm going to have to kill. And right there is where my phone ran out of capacity. But here we are the next morning. I've had a little bit of sleep. And after cleaning out the car somewhat, I still have bug detail to do and get the worst of the inside taken care of. But I wanted to stop and take a minute to run over some of the big stats. And then as I'm editing, if I have any more to add, I'll add that in the studio. But the total trip out to Custer and back and all the sightseeing adventures was 1,384 miles. And we used 473 kilowatt hours. Our average was 342 watt hours per mile. The supercharging cost was $69.19 for the entire trip. I did have some level 2 charging in Custer, as I've covered earlier. Now let's say you did that same trip in a gas car that gets 30 miles to the gallon. You would have used 46.13 gallons of gas. And let's say gas is about $3 right now. And so the total cost would have been $138.14. So that's almost double what we paid for supercharging. And obviously with gas, there's not an opportunity for free hosted level 2 charging. And just like in our situation, if you're in a vehicle that gets 30 miles to the gallon, chances are at 84 miles an hour and fighting that kind of wind, you're not going to be seeing that efficiency. So that price could go up a little bit. But in general, I think we can say it's about half the cost, even when you're using superchargers, which are more expensive than charging at home. But other than the kind of chill in the air and the mist obscuring some of the sights, it was a really great weekend and great to meet people from all over the country who were there just to celebrate Tesla and go for a great drive over the weekend. So really cool, and I'll definitely be trying to do my best to get there next year again. One thing I wanted to ask of you is, when we do these road trip videos, do you like seeing all the data, or is that just boring and distracting? I don't know whether it's helpful for people who are trying to gauge how their road trip might go, or if it's just nerdy, boring stuff nobody really cares about. With the Model Y, with the navigation, and coming from the Model S, it's so much easier, and we have to do so much less planning that I'm not sure how helpful that is anymore. But if it's helpful to you, please let me know in the comments so I can be sure to include it in future videos. Thank you so much for coming on this trip with us. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you didn't enjoy it, thanks for sticking around anyway. If you have specific questions about the trip or want to hear a little bit more about it, feel free to join me for the live stream. I usually do that on Saturday nights, and that is what I call Everyone's an Expert. So join me for that if you want. But for now, I gotta get this car cleaned up and mow the lawn because it rained all weekend. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.